Let me tell you something that might shake your soul a little. A high-value woman is not the loudest in the room. She's the one whose silence commands respect. She doesn't run. She doesn't chase. She attracts. She glows. She rises. And the moment you learn what not to chase is the moment you become undeniable. She never chases a man who's confused about her, because confusion is a decision. When a man says, "I'm not sure," or "I need time," what he's really saying is, you are not a priority right now. And a high-value woman listens to that without needing further explanation, because her time, her love, and her energy are sacred, not available for trial, error, or emotional gambling. You see, a woman who knows her worth doesn't play in gray areas. She doesn't linger in almost relationships or situationships that keep her guessing. She tries to explore why she feels like she's worthless. And whatever comes to mind, she's guessing. Love to her is not about begging for clarity. It's about showing up with full presence. And if a man cannot mirror that, she walks away. Not with bitterness, but with brilliance. She knows that love should feel like peace, not like confusion. She understands that real affection doesn't live in maybe or someday. Think about it. You don't chase after someone who hesitates to claim you. A diamond doesn't need to chase the buyer. The buyer comes when he recognizes the value. When you walk into a store and see something luxurious, it doesn't scream, it doesn't go on discount, and it definitely doesn't beg to be picked. That's how a high-value woman moves. Gracefully, quietly, powerfully. She doesn't chase men. She attracts alignment. In real life, you've seen it. The woman who keeps texting, calling, checking his last scene, overanalyzing his one-word replies, tolerating breadcrumb attention, and all she gets in return is more distance. But then there's another woman. She senses even the smallest shift in energy, and instead of clinging, she detaches. She doesn't try to impress him more. She doesn't try to prove her loyalty. She simply exits. Because she knows the man who wants her will never make her feel unwanted. It's not pride. It's not ego. It's self-respect. And self-respect isn't negotiable. It's the boundary between being loved and being used. A confused man says, "I like you, but." A worthy man says, "I choose you fully, completely, now." One brings anxiety, the other brings peace. A high-value woman knows the difference. Even in friendships, the pattern repeats. When someone acts unsure, we overcompensate. But real connection doesn't need constant convincing. If someone doesn't know where you stand in their life, give them the space to miss you, or the silence to lose you. That's the power of not chasing. Imagine you're at a job interview and the employer says, "We're not sure if you're the right fit, but we'll call you someday." Would you sit by the phone forever? No. You'd move on to a place that recognizes your value the moment you walk in. That's how a woman should treat her heart, as a position that deserves a confident applicant, not someone who's still deciding whether to show up. She doesn't chase a man who's confused, because she's not desperate for love. She's devoted to her peace. Her love is not an offer. It's a reward. And only a man with clarity, commitment, and courage deserves access to it. Because the one thing a high-value woman will never do is lower herself to convince someone to rise. She never chases validation from social media or society, because she knows who she is, even when no one's watching. In a world obsessed with filters, algorithms, and fake perfection, she dares to show up as real. She doesn't need a heart icon to feel loved, a blue check to feel important, or 1,000 likes to feel beautiful. Her confidence doesn't fluctuate with digital applause. Why? Because she's built from within, not based on opinions that change like seasons. Every day, millions wake up and the first thing they check is their phone. Not messages from loved ones, not emails of purpose, but how many views their story got, how many people liked that picture, or if someone finally replied to that comment. But a high-value woman, she wakes up and checks herself. Her mood, her peace, her goals. She's not counting followers, she's counting blessings. She's not scrolling for comparison, she's scripting her vision. While others seek attention, she seeks alignment. While others pose to impress, she moves to impact. You'll never see her break down over not trending, because she doesn't trade her truth for trends. She's not obsessed with aesthetics that are empty. She's not posting tears just to gain sympathy. Her power isn't performative. It's authentic. If she posts, it's because she's proud, not because she's needy. If she shares, it's to inspire, not to compete. She doesn't dance for approval. She dances in her truth. She isn't addicted to being seen. She's devoted to being real. You see, society has always tried to shape women into boxes. Her power has always tried to shape women into boxes. Be softer, be smaller, don't be too bold, don't speak too loud. That's how she is. She is a perfect example. That's how I exist. She is a perfect example. That's how she is. She's a perfect example. But this woman, she doesn't chase the applause of a system built to silence her. She disrupts it. She doesn't dress for validation. She dresses for expression. She doesn't speak to fit in. She speaks to stand out. And if her power threatens the insecure, so be it. She's not here to shrink. She's here to shine. Take the girl in the office who never wears makeup, never joins the gossip circle, never follows the trends, yet commands respect when she walks into the room. That's the energy we're talking about. Or the single mom who doesn't post her struggles for pity, who raises her kids with grace and doesn't care what society thinks about her path. That's high value. Or the college girl who isn't chasing after influencer aesthetics, but instead builds her future in silence, choosing substance over spotlight. That's where true validation lives. Not in followers, but in fulfillment. When others are desperate to be seen, she's focused on being significant. When others are editing their truth to fit in, she's living her truth to stand out. And guess what? People notice. They always do. Real always rises, even in a world full of fake. She doesn't need to beg for engagement because her energy is already magnetic. Her presence, her wisdom, her rawness, that's her content. That's her brand. That's her legacy. She doesn't let society tell her she's behind because she's single, or too loud because she's opinionated, or too ambitious because she dreams big. She lets her results speak louder than their restrictions. She lets her peace be louder than their projections. The validation they think she needs, she gave it to herself years ago. Society can't cancel a woman who never asked for its permission to begin with. She's not chasing likes, she's chasing legacy. She's not craving attention, she's creating impact. And when you stop needing the world to clap for you, you become the kind of woman the world can't ignore. She never chases competition or comparison because she knows no one can outdo her at being herself. In a world where everyone is trying to keep up, fit in, and measure up, she stands still and owns her space. She doesn't look left or right, she looks within. She doesn't care who's ahead or behind because her path is so uniquely tailored. There's no race to run, only a purpose to walk in. She's not insecure when another woman shines. She knows another's light doesn't dim her own. She is the kind of woman who will fix another woman's crown without announcing it fell. In school, there's always that girl who competes for the teacher's attention, trying to outshine everyone with every answer. But the high-value woman, she helps others rise. She's not threatened by intelligence because she understands that collaboration beats comparison every single time. When someone else gets the spotlight, she claps genuinely, not because it's performative, but because she knows her time is not stolen, it's simply on divine delay. There's no jealousy in her heart, because she knows what's hers will never require her to compete. In the office, while others engage in silent battles of looks, promotions, and popularity, she focuses on growth. She's not competing for validation, she's committed to excellence. While others lose sleep over someone else's progress, she finds peace in her own evolution. If someone else gets the raise, the praise, or the recognition, she doesn't sink into envy, she leans into gratitude. Because she believes that every win around her is evidence that winning is possible. And that mindset, that's what puts her ahead without ever having to run. When it comes to beauty, she doesn't chase trends or alter herself to match someone else's version of perfection. She commits herself to 2 promises to herself and to her wife. When she says again, Professor Michman, I've been invested in company. She doesn't stand in front of the mirror picking herself apart, wishing she looked more like someone else. She looks at herself and says, this face, this body, this soul, this is my masterpiece. Because comparison doesn't create beauty, confidence does. She doesn't waste time trying to be the most liked woman in the room. She focuses on being the most authentic. And in a world full of copies, authenticity is a currency that never goes out of value. In relationships, she doesn't try to be better than the ex. She doesn't try to outperform the new girl. She knows her worth isn't based on who came before her or who comes after. She doesn't compete for a man's attention because love should never be a battlefield. She's not interested in being the pick-me. She is the I choose me. She will never diminish another woman just to feel significant. She is not based on measure of what's more. All of her interests are felt significant. Her confidence is quiet, but her presence loud. Loud enough to make others rise instead of shrink. Even in friendship, she doesn't compete for loyalty. She doesn't gossip to win people. She doesn't perform to be accepted. She knows that real friendships aren't competitions. They are safe spaces. She lifts, empowers, and celebrates others because that's what true queens do. She's not in a secret competition with the women around her. She's in a visible celebration with them. She's in a visible celebration with them. Every time someone tries to compare their chapter 2 to her chapter 10, she reminds them gently, you're not late. You're on your own journey. Because she remembers what it felt like to compare herself to others and feel less than. And now, she lives to remind women, we're not each other's competition. We are each other's proof. The high-value woman doesn't chase competition because she understands that elevation doesn't require rivalry. She knows that what's meant for her will arrive with peace, not pressure. She's not trying to be better than you. She's trying to be better than who she was yesterday. That's the only race she runs. And she's winning it one step at a time. She never chases money, she attracts opportunities because her energy is rooted in purpose, not desperation. While many are constantly running, grinding, burning themselves out just to survive, she operates from a different frequency. She doesn't beg the world to notice her, she builds herself so powerfully that the world can't help but watch. She knows that real wealth isn't just in numbers, it's in mindset, in movement, in magnetism. She isn't chasing paper, she's building a legacy. And that legacy draws opportunities like a magnet because people are drawn to confidence, vision, and peace, not panic. In daily life, you'll see women racing toward fast money, jobs they hate, relationships for security, selling time for survival. And yet, despite all the hustle, their soul feels bankrupt. But this woman, she understands that chasing money makes you a slave to it, but becoming valuable makes money chase you. She invests in her skills, she sharpens her mind, she becomes so good at what she does that the world starts offering her positions, deals, invitations, not because she begged for it, but because she embodied it. She's the type of woman who shows up early, stays prepared, and delivers excellence. And when people see her, they don't just see talent, they see reliability, they see vision, they see someone they want to work with, trust and pay. While others are panicking over bills, she's creating blueprints. While others are faking luxury online, she's building real streams of income, offline. She's not driven by greed, she's driven by impact, and impact is where the real money flows. You'll find her in places others ignore, in libraries instead of luxury stores, in online courses instead of gossip groups, in quiet strategy instead of noisy desperation. Because she knows that when she builds herself, her bank account rises by default. She doesn't measure her worth by her wallet. She measures it by her wisdom. And when wisdom multiplies, so does wealth. The kind of wealth that can't be stolen, taxed, or taken away. She never chooses a man just because he's rich. She chooses alignment. She doesn't depend on a provider, she becomes one. And that shift, that changes her entire reality. When she walks into a room, people don't see just a woman. They see an investment. They see someone worth building with. Because she's not here to impress with a brand name. She's here to become one. Her energy says, I bring value wherever I go, and I deserve to be compensated accordingly. There's the girl who spends every day jumping from one side hustle to another, exhausted, confused, and still broke. Not because she isn't working hard, but because she's operating from fear. Then there's the woman who sat in silence for months, studied her craft, built her offer, refined her voice, and showed up with power. And now clients are lining up. That's the difference between chasing and attracting. Chasing drains you, attracting elevates you. She doesn't take every job out of panic. She aligns with projects that grow her. She doesn't sell her soul for a paycheck. She knows when to say no, so she can honor what she's worth. She understands the game is not about chasing every coin, but creating streams that flow to her because of her consistency, brilliance, and strategy. When people ask her how she became so successful, she doesn't talk about luck. She talks about intention. She became the kind of woman who attracts wealth. Not just because of what she does, but because of who she is. Her confidence writes invoices before her mouth speaks. Her presence closes deals before her pitch begins. Because when a woman values herself deeply, the world pays her accordingly. She never chases clout or popularity because she understands that being known isn't the same as being respected. She doesn't need her name in every mouth or her face on every screen to feel significant. Her value isn't in how many people know her, it's in how deeply she impacts the ones who do. While others are trying to be viral, she's trying to be vital. While others chase visibility, she chooses authenticity. She's not here to trend, she's here to transform. In a world where people will do anything for likes, views, and attention, she moves differently. You won't find her oversharing just to stay relevant. You won't see her faking lifestyles, pretending to be someone she's not, or competing in a never-ending circus of self-promotion. Because she knows this: clout is loud, but character is lasting. And she's not building a moment, she's building a legacy. She's the woman who walks into a room and doesn't announce herself, but people feel her. She's not trying to impress, she's too focused on expressing. While others rehearse every post, every line, every fake moment to appear more liked, she simply lives. She shares what's real. She posts when she feels, and she speaks when she has something to say, not just something to perform. Because applause fades, but integrity echoes. I start. I just something. But then I just something because I got big when I feel safe. 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 Because I got big. In school, there's always that one student who tries so hard to be liked, saying what's popular, laughing at what's trending, changing themselves to fit in. But then there's another girl, quiet but confident, not interested in every group, not desperate to sit at every table, yet everyone respects her. That's the woman who understands her worth. She doesn't follow the crowd. She creates her own lane. That's power. The kind that doesn't need to be explained. On social media, you'll see people chasing clout with drama, flexing cars they don't own, wearing labels they can't afford, and faking smiles they don't feel. But this woman, she posts from purpose, not pressure. Her captions aren't crafted for controversy. Her life isn't a performance. It's a presence. And that presence draws in the right people. Because when you stop trying to be liked by everyone, you start attracting the ones who actually see you. In relationships, she doesn't need to be shown off to feel secure. She doesn't force a man to post her, tag her, prove her to the world. Because she knows real love doesn't need an audience. And if he's with her for clout, he's already disqualified. She's not interested in being a trophy. She's interested in being treasured. And then, under the myth, the difficulty, disaster, and loss is not the destiny. The difficulty, the discomfort, the trial, the pain. She's not interested in being a trophy. She's interested in being treasured. 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 Her love doesn't live in display cases. It lives in depth, in connection, in truth. Even in her career, she's not the one trying to be everyone's favorite. She's not switching up her values to get a seat at the table. She's building her own table, brick by brick. And the right people, they're coming, not because she begged, but because she became undeniable. Popularity might fill a room, but it's purpose that fills a life. And she chooses purpose every single time. She's the woman who doesn't fear being misunderstood because she's too busy being real. She knows that not everyone will like her, and that's not a threat, that's a filter. Because when you stop needing to be liked, you stop standing for something. And when you stand for something, you stop bending for everything. Her power comes from silence, from consistency, from alignment. She doesn't need to be everywhere. She just needs to be true. And in a world chasing clout, she becomes rare. Not because she's unreachable, but because she refuses to be anyone other than herself. She never chases closure because she understands that peace isn't something they give you. It's something you choose. While others wait for an apology, an explanation, or that final talk, she walks away with her head high and her soul intact. Because she knows this truth, closure isn't about their words, it's about her decision. And the most powerful decision a woman can make is to heal without help, to forgive without hearing sorry, and to move on without needing permission. You'll see it all the time. Someone begging for a final conversation, reading old messages, looking for hidden meaning, replaying every moment just to make sense of the heartbreak. But she doesn't sit in emotional limbo. She doesn't beg people to explain why they broke her. She doesn't camp out in confusion. Because when someone leaves without respect, without clarity, without care, that is the closure. Their silence, that's the answer. Their absence, that's the truth. And she listens. She's not going to text him one more time asking, "Can we talk?" She's not going to send that last voice note, hoping he finally gets it. She's not going to write another paragraph trying to understand why he gave up, because she's not desperate to reopen wounds just to close them properly. She bleeds, she breaks, she feels it all, but she doesn't beg. She heals by owning her emotions, not outsourcing them to the same person who caused them. In real life, you'll find her walking away from a friend who betrayed her, not demanding answers, but choosing distance. You'll see her block the number without the final phone call. Not out of bitterness, but out of boundaries. Because when someone shows they don't respect you, you don't need to stay to understand why. She trusts her gut, she trusts her journey, she trusts that anything that leaves her life was meant to. And she doesn't go chasing ghosts just to hear their side of the story. At work, when someone backstabs her or speaks behind her back, she doesn't confront just to feel validated. She lets her character speak. She lets time speak. She lets results speak. She's not about drama, not about proving points. She's about peace. While others are stuck in loops, trying to understand betrayal, she chooses elevation. She doesn't need to clear the air when she's already cleared her conscience. And in family, where some wounds go unspoken and apologies never come, she still rises. She doesn't chase the "why didn't you love me right?" or the "why did you hurt me like that?" She learns to love herself deeper instead. She becomes her own comfort, her own closure, her own calm. She creates new roots, new standards, new cycles, so her healing doesn't depend on who hurt her. Because that's what emotional maturity looks like. Realizing you don't need someone's guilt to begin your growth. Even in her quiet moments, when the memories hit her hardest and her heart aches for understanding, she doesn't go back. She doesn't reopen the door that already slammed shut. She writes her own ending to the story. One where she becomes stronger, wiser, softer, but never smaller. One where she releases without resentment, lets go without regret, and loves herself louder than the pain ever could. She doesn't believe in chasing closure because she's learned sometimes the most powerful way to respond is with silence, strength, and the sound of your own footsteps walking away from what no longer serves your soul. She turns the page, not because the story was perfect, but because she is ready for peace more than she is ready for answers. And peace, for her, is the final word. A high-value woman doesn't chase because she chooses. She chooses herself again and again, even when it's hard. She walks away from what confuses her, disrespects her, or drains her, even when her heart still cares. She's not heartless. She's healed. And healing taught her that her energy is not for sale. Her time is not for wasting. Her worth is not up for negotiation. She does not shrink to fit into places that require her to lose herself. Because she understands now, you don't find yourself by chasing others, you find yourself by returning home to you. She doesn't beg for love because she is love. She doesn't seek applause because she knows her own value. She doesn't wait for someone else to crown her. She walks like royalty, with invisible grace and undeniable power. She is not everyone's cup of tea, and she no longer cares to be. She stopped chasing the room, and now the room changes when she enters. That's what happens when a woman rises in her worth. The world adjusts. Let the world misunderstand her. Let them call her cold, arrogant, distant. What they don't see is the fire she walked through to become this calm. What they don't know is how many nights she cried in silence before learning to smile in solitude. She's been through storms, and now she is the storm. She's not unbreakable because she's never been broken. She's unbreakable because she broke and still rebuilt herself without permission, without apology, without needing rescue. Because the truth is, not chasing is not weakness, it's power. It's the strength of knowing that silence can speak louder than screams, that detachment can heal faster than drama, that walking away isn't giving up, it's growing up. And a high-value woman knows if it costs her peace, her self-respect, or her power, the price is too high. She no longer begs for explanations from the ones who ghosted her, approval from the ones who never saw her, or closure from the ones who shattered her. She doesn't refresh the message that never came. She doesn't wait for the call that isn't ringing. She doesn't stare at the door that already closed. Because the woman who values herself doesn't knock twice where she wasn't welcomed once. Let the world chase clout. She chases clarity. Let the crowd follow trends. She follows truth. Let the noise seek attention. She seeks alignment. Because the most powerful woman is the one who has nothing to prove, but everything to become. She understands now the only person she needs to compete with is the woman she was yesterday. And the only thing she ever runs toward is the life she deserves. There's a reason why the crown is heavy. It was never meant to be worn by someone who needs validation. It was meant for the one who earned it in silence, carried pain in her chest, and still showed up like light. She is her own savior, her own standard, her own story. And when she walks, she doesn't chase anything. Not love, not money, not popularity, not closure. Because the universe responds to the woman who responds to herself first. Never forget, lions don't chase opinions. Oceans don't fear storms. And queens don't run after people. They rise. And the day a woman realizes she is the prize, the peace and the power, is the day the world stops spinning the same.